Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. You join me this week on episode 16, where officially our podcast is old enough to buy lottery tickets and have sex. Speaking of sex, joining me this week, my co-hosts, Richie and Tom. Welcome, gentlemen.
You can't have sex at 16 weeks, Chris.
Not weeks, 16 as in age. Not weeks.
I've lost the will to live at this point.
So yes, 16 out there living it wild, putting the lottery on
At 16 weeks old.
At 16 weeks old, amongst other things. That baby is having a crazy time. But yes, joining me this week, I've got Richie and Tom as usual in the co-host seats. Welcome, gentlemen.
What's up, Internet?
Hello.
What's up, Internet? Is that a thing you're trying there, Tom?
I'm mixing it up. Why not? Why not?
You're much older than 16 weeks, so you can do what you want, mate.
Yeah.
Do what you want. Yes, excellent. So joining me, we are going to be jumping into some Stadia news, fresh off the press, and some of the thoughts and topics based around the GDC Awards, and a community thread that we spotted on YouTube and we thought we'd steal from Stadia Cast friends we've got over on YouTube. So we might as well then jump straight into Thomas.
The super sexy special Stadia Stories segment, aka the
news. I nearly coughed then as soon as I said that. The one time we were in sync. So we were worried. I think this week we were going to have quite a quiet week. I think it got to pretty much Thursday and we'd heard nothing. No news, no drip feed from Google. Still no community update this week.
I was going to ask about that because I was away this weekend, so I left on Friday and the community update hadn't came out then, so
yeah.
I had a chance to check.
I've been keeping my eyes glued on Twitter as well. I just keep refreshing every hour or so just to see if something pops up, but so far no luck with that.
Yeah, they did say it was going to be every Thursday, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they said every Thursday or Friday. So.
Yeah, but they're clearly still on the festive break, so they've got a lot of hard work to do over there. So no doubt they're still recovering from all their turkey and presents. But yeah, so that surely must mean we'll get a community update this week.
I hope so.
I think. I mean, it must be coming. I've seen a lot of stuff going around in the Twitter sphere and the internet and such of people kind of clambering for a Stadia Connect. Also, just some kind of news to set that roadmap in for the new year, which I think we spoke about in a bit of depth last week's show. But yeah, to jump into the news then this week, so we've pulled together some bits of information that we saw trickle out. First off, top of the list, we've got a gentleman called Ben Nichols who's left Ubisoft officially to join Stadia as part of the design and art concept team. You two read into this a little bit at all?
Yeah, I've had a bit of a look into his past work. So Ben was formerly a concept artist over at Ubisoft. He's worked for a couple of other companies as well. You can check out his resume online at belgianbooleancg.com as well. Free plug for you there, Ben. But he has now joined the Stadia Games team as well as the lead concept artist. So, taking a look at some of his past work, he's worked on Watch Dogs Legion, Halo Wars 2, and Halo 5 Guardians as well. So, possibly expect something a little bit of a sci-fi element, perhaps futuristic dystopian future sort of feeling as well. I'm pretty excited by it. It means that we're taking a step forward with Google Stadia Games. What do you think?
I think it's quite a good sign that you've got employees from top tier developers jumping ship. And I think applying their trade over at Stadia clearly shows that the people within the industry have kind of got the insight to see the potential. Because I'm sure they're getting potentially paid a little bit more as well, which always helps. But
I'd imagine as well he's probably been pitched on what the project he's going to be working on is and decided he wants to do the concept art for that. So
yeah, if there's something to drag you in, I think Tom, you mentioned before the show, you were saying that a lot of his concept design works around sci-fi based things.
Definitely is. If you look on his he's got an ArtStation page again under the same username, Belgian Boolean, or under his resume as well. You can see most of the works that he puts out publicly are very much like large scale sci-fi. If we think like sort of like Star Wars, Star Destroyers, Super Star Destroyers, like huge scale battleship kind of things. Really, that's the kind of concept art he's been putting a lot out there into the public eye. So for me, I'm sort of hoping that maybe we might see something along those lines, like Space Battle Epic from Stadia Games, because that'd really grab my attention.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It's nice to pull on these strings and kind of think about what that means for the future of any development team that he's joining, because obviously we won't know specifically what project he's joining, whether it's halfway through development, it's early doors, but if he's being brought on board and that's kind of his go-to art style, then it kind of bodes well for us in the future. Hopefully going to get a game that's sci-fi related, and whether that ends up being giant space battles, I'm more than happy for that. It's been a long time since we've had a Star Wars Starfighter game.
What would you prefer, it to be like a big AAA title or an indie?
Gotta say the AAA for me, I think. Yeah. I'm gonna have something that's sort of like got that EVE Online feel to it, but not so much focused on the mining and like the leveling up aspect, and more on the large scale space battles. That'd be what I'm after.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't be against it going to, because Stadia doesn't really have any exclusive or any real titles to call its own, to getting a few smaller releases out there, so it can start getting a catalogue of, you can only play this on Stadia. But I'll be open for both, to be honest.
I think yeah, sorry, go on, Chris.
We got the I think in tandem, but we can't get the news in tandem with each other. I was just going to say, I presume bringing him on design as a concept art, you wouldn't really require that for an indie game as much, whereas I feel like it's much easier for Google to acquire some indie teams and put some investment into smaller independent studios. But I think if they're going to start building up this team with concept artists and such, they're definitely working on AAA stuff. I don't think the public would accept anything that wasn't AAA at this point.
No, especially when you're looking at not mincing my words, but poaching big players from large companies as well. I think I'd like Stadia Games to be focused more predominantly on AAA titles rather than indie. They could always have like an indie wing, because we know what the plan is long term, don't we? Really, in terms of helping the indie developers along.
Yeah. So, but it's great news all around. I think we'll probably most likely going to see a small trickle of people jumping ship from these bigger studios, because the reality is Google's got the money. We know that. They have basically opportunity now to go and headhunt the kind of people they want. I mean, they did it with their CEO, Phil Harrison. Obviously, he's worked for Sony and Xbox in the past. So they've got that kind of willingness to bring on board people who've been in the industry for a long time. And I think, starting with concept artists, the game designers, and smaller kind of lesser-known studios like Typhoon Studios, who we spoke about last week, it's the right place to start and just flesh out this portfolio, working towards kind of like a bigger back catalogue, which they're going to need to compete with the big guys come the end of the year.
Yeah, and if you think about the product life cycle as well, if they are looking at building new AAA titles up from the ground up, then where do you start? Well, you start with the concept of a game, don't you? You don't just jump into hiring lead developers, software developers, game designers, graphic artists. You start with the concept art. So maybe this is the early stages of a larger project. Who knows? It could be possibly a couple of years before we actually see any light of day on this project, but I'm excited. I like it. Yeah. Any news is good news.
Well, I agree. It's just nice to hear people joining Stadia in the game from the game development side of things. It's going to be probably years before we actually see what they've been working on.
It means there's some life there, doesn't it? Really, I suppose. Like something is happening.
It means the worry some people have had with Google's track record of closing down projects means, well, no, the building studios are planning to build games, and if a game takes 3 years to develop, you can assume that Stadia is going to be at least there for that long.
Yeah.
And they're going to be backing it, so...
Yeah, definitely. I think, speaking of things in the future then, and AAA games and titles, we'll move on to another news article that dropped. Well, actually, it wasn't a news article. It was picked up on Twitter by a Stadia daily site. And it was basically a conversation on Twitter between the official Stadia account and a player. And basically, CD Projekt Red, they're getting a bit funny with confirming a release date for Stadia for Cyberpunk 2077. And I've seen a few things bubbling up about this over the kind of the last couple of weeks, where I think if we remember the Game Awards, I think it was at the Cyberpunk trailer that was there, didn't have the Stadia logo on at the end, even though it had done Oh, was it Borderlands?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's Borderlands.
There was a AAA game that had it in back in E3, but then seemed to lose it somewhere between there and December. But yeah, we've seen. Obviously, we know the release date for Cyberpunk. And in one of the conversations, someone said, I am happy that Stadia works very well at my place, but I don't have anything new to play right now. Can't wait for Cyberpunk 27 to be out. And Stadia replied, the official account replied, unfortunately, April is only a few months away.
Yeah. I mean, it's still listed if you throw up a Google search onto Cyberpunk 2077, it's still listed as a 16th of April 2020 release date for all platforms.
Yeah.
So hopefully that isn't changing, and hopefully we do see our first AAA title that's going to come out at the same point as on every other console. That'd be nice.
Yeah. And it's a big title as well.
Yeah.
It's huge. When I saw this kind of story break initially, my worry was that the story was going to center around Cyberpunk not having a kind of set date. And the reality is we're discussing there about saying a locked-in day-and-date AAA launch, huge title. How much damage would this have to Stadia if it wasn't their day-and-date? Is that not going to be the straw that's going to break the camel's back for a lot of users?
The time difference. If it's like a week, I think you're fine. But if it's dragging on and on and on, then everyone's going to be buying Cyberpunk on other platforms probably.
Well, that's
like
it.
How long do people want to wait for it?
Yeah, the longer the gap, the bigger the risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the longer that they take with it, if a huge title like this were to suddenly drop back in terms of its release date, I think that might it would bring all the naysayers back to the forefront and get them start talking about no games on Stadia, blah 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 blah. And in my opinion, that might be one of not the final nail, but one of the last nails in the coffin in terms of killing off any hope really of this succeeding.
Yeah, actually, speaking when we were saying there about AAA games, isn't Doom Eternal? It's going to be day and date in March.
Should be.
That'll be the first AAA one, I would have thought. Which we know is going to come day and date with Stadia because the whole damn thing was advertised as a Stadia launch game. So I'd laugh if that changed come its re-release date almost, or its delayed date, I should say. But in terms of the release itself, yeah. Is a quick poll, if Cyberpunk came out on April 16th, gentlemen, and it wasn't available on Stadia, and as per communication so far, we don't have a date, do you guys hold on, or would you put your money into your other consoles?
If I don't have a date at the point when it comes out, I think I will probably buy it on my PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
But if I have a date and it's like a week later, I'll probably wait.
Yeah, as Richie said, I think I'm in the same boat right there. If I don't have a date, I'm gonna get it on PlayStation probably. But if I do have a date and it's, how long would I be willing to wait for? A week, 2, I'd probably say at most a month, but that would really be stretching.
Yeah, it all depends on the conversation at the time as well. If Cyberpunk comes out, guns blazing, 10 out of 10 reviews everywhere, game of the year recommendations, your friends start playing it and just start that kind of conversation within your kind of friend sphere in the internet and all the tech sites you follow gets built up in a favour of how good this game is. I think with all the best intentions of the world, they're saying you're going to hang off, and it'll only take one moment of weakness, and bang, you've bought it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, the risk is real, and I think this harks back to what we were speaking about a roadmap for the year. These dates need locked in, especially one so soon. Like we'll blink and April will be here.
Yeah, this is slightly worrying. It's like when the release date is confirmed on other platforms, but not Stadia. It's like, why? This might be CD Projekt Red because of no experience with the Stadia as a platform, just protecting themselves a bit.
Yeah, potentially. But I know in my mind I've got Doom Eternal set for 100% Stadia purchase, and I've got Cyberpunk set for a Stadia purchase as well in my mind currently. So they need to get them locked in day and date for me not to wander. Basically, it happens in everything. If it's you get what's in front of you. The reality is, if it isn't there, yeah, how long are we willing to wait?
Yeah, it's the question that we all have to ask, isn't it? At the end of the day, everybody has different thresholds in terms of how long they're willing to.
Peer pressure is a big thing.
Yeah.
Depends how busy you are in your personal life as well. If the week it comes out, you're quite free, and then you're going to be busy the rest of the month, then would you be willing to wait the week?
Yeah, true. But yeah, definitely. And it's one of the things, I mean, we presume Stadia Base is going to be out at this point as well.
We presume.
Yeah.
So that's going to be another thing. You've got that little window of opportunity there to get all these new users back, on board with the platform. What better way to do it than with a AAA launch game day and date?
This is why I think I am in the camp where I think Stadia need a Connect now, because I think it'd be a nice thing to just give you a kind of roadmap of what the year is going to look like with Stadia. So things like Cyberpunk, the release date, Stadia Base, getting some more information about when that's coming.
Yeah. It's just human nature. We like to know what the future looks like. I mean, we've all no doubt got our own. Yeah, we've got our year planned out already for when we're booking our holidays. We know what we'll be doing in the summer, what our next couple of weeks at work look like, if we're doing anything with friends, any birthdays coming up. We are, by nature, we like stuff to be scheduled in so we can plan ahead. I think having this just ambiguous, who knows, it might come out, will it, won't it, kind of thing. It just unsettles people.
Yeah, I just think it's a nice thing to, at the start of the year, for whatever platform, and go, right, here's what you can expect from our platform for this upcoming year. He doesn't have to go full into the nitty-gritty detail on things, but just like, Stadia based coming out April, for example, as a random date. You can expect that the 1st of April, move on to the next thing. So it doesn't have to be a massive production.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, and hopefully the community update they're going to come back with is just, hi, I know we've been quiet over the festive season. Chris and Grace from Google here again. Hope you had a great Christmas. The plan for the next couple of weeks is, here's your Stadia games for February. Here's a few games that we've got dates locked in for, Doom Eternal, Cyberpunk, I mean, anything like that. The plan for March is to do another Connect to kind of bankroll our summer. And yes, we'll be at E3 this year. Like little tiny snippets like that, and that will appease so many people.
I think even if they can't give us the full 2020 roadmap, give us the next 3 months or something like that, so at least we've got something to prepare for.
Well, it's just like, here's the things to look forward to this year. Like Stadia Base is coming out, whatever it is. We're going to be at E3. Here's a few new game announcements that you can expect in the next 12 months.
Yeah. Or discussion about features. What are we expecting next? But the thing that's sort of making me sweat, I suppose, if anything, is the dreaded silence. And I know earlier you said, Chris, that perhaps they're still on their holidays a little bit. I know it's probably being said in jest, but I think the silence is going on a little bit too long at this point, and that is being noticed in the community.
Yeah.
I don't want to be one of the naysayers, but we really need some information.
It's that lack of community update this week, because they said they're committing to just a once a week community update in the blog, and because it hasn't come, it's like, where is it?
Yeah, what worries me the most is that everybody I discuss Stadia with is starting to get a negative opinion of it, and that is influenced quite heavily by obviously the YouTubers out there, the social media posts and so on. There are still obviously good points to the whole service, but at the moment I really feel that this silence once again is really not helping. It's not helping people's opinions of the product.
Yeah. Silence is deadly.
Yeah.
But I think that we actually got a question wrote in by someone called Mitchie from the north of England. He wrote in and asked, will you be keeping your Stadia Pro subscription when it expires next month? So that's another key thing relating back to what you're saying there, Tom, about just a roadmap just for the next couple of weeks or months. A lot of people are coming now to the end of their kind of 3-month founders cycle or their premiere cycle. And at the end of the day, you might end up with people out there with just buddy passes.
Yeah, well, for me, I was thinking about, because I think it's the 20th of February mine expires. And when you look at the features you get for Stadia Pros, 4K, I don't have a 4K screen to play on. You get 5.1 surround sound. I don't have the good enough audio system to really utilize that. So the only thing for me is really the games.
Yeah, you're going to lose Farming Simulator.
Yeah.
Do you think they're banking on people sticking with it based solely on the games?
No. I can't imagine.
No, not entirely. It depends what games they're coming up with. This is where I'm actually on the fence about should I keep it or not. I am tempted to just cancel the renewal and see what games come up.
See, this is
the game I want.
This is where me being a little bit apathetic can be a bit of a problem, because arguably I'm feeling I probably should cancel it for pretty much for the same reasons that you just said, Richie. Like, I don't utilize the 4K and I don't utilize the 5.1. So, I mean, most of the games I'm playing on Stadia at the moment are games I've actually purchased. So technically I don't need the Pro.
Yeah, that's like, where I'm at.
I'm playing Borderlands 3. I'm playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Like, they're not part of the Pro deal. So do I need to? No, I don't need to keep it. So my apathy sort of I'm probably going to keep it, but I'm probably going to keep it because I can't be asked to cancel it.
Well, yeah,
the good old subscription model.
I know where you're at. But the way I'm thinking is, well, if the next month's games I'm not interested in, I'm not currently playing the other games I've got. Do I save myself £9 for a month?
Yeah. And this is the great thing with subscription models as well, is you've got that opt-in, opt-out kind of mantra. And I believe they have clarified that if you do sign back up to Pro, you do get your library of games back. So it's a very accessible in and out kind of scenario. This is the kind of message that I personally think means that they're gonna have to go big with base, because you're right there. If us three collectively think, well, the games we've got on Pro so far, I don't give two shits about Destiny 2, if I'm honest at this point. The free Tomb Raider games, great as they are, I have played and completed them in the past. So it's not much of a loss to me when I can look at my shelf and they're sat there. I've got them to play if I want to. So what's keeping me around and what's going to keep every other founder and Premier member around has got to be the content, which makes me think they've got to be hiding something that has to go live or be announced imminently before everyone just starts jumping ship. And I don't mean jump ship by leave entirely, leave the ecosystem. I just mean back to what you said there, Tom, that if the particular highlights for the Pro subscription aren't relevant or beneficial to you, why would you keep it?
Yeah, I think we talked a bit about this last week, where I think next month's game, with it being the end of people's subscriptions, needs to be a biggie. But I also think the only option is like paying a monthly option. This is where I think if they had an annual alternative, I probably would buy the annual one, and then they've got my money for the year. Well, now at the moment I'm on the fence. It's based on what game.
But how much of the revenue do you think is actually generated by Stadia Pro as well? That's the other thing we've got to start asking too, is like, if the people were to vote with their wallets and cancel Stadia Pro subscriptions, like how much of an impact is that actually going to have on the service as well?
I imagine it's bigger than, say, PlayStation Plus for Sony, because they don't have the hardware sales to make up for it. So they want you to be subscribing to the platform.
Yeah, I mean the money they've given away as part of the Pro subscription deal at the moment stands at a few old games that you can pick up for less than a tenner elsewhere, and a couple of like knockoff discount prices. So in terms of like Google's actual output, it's not really costing them anything. And like you said there, Richie, the benefit of everything being digital is there's no real true cost involved with shifting units or logistically posting things. So in terms of value for money, the markup price must be a lot better than Sony and PlayStation and Microsoft and Xbox are getting. But again, we'll never see those figures. We can only calculate and presume. But there's got to be something on the horizon. So to put a reskin on those news stories, fantastic. Ben's jumping ship from a AAA studio to Stadia. Cyberpunk is going to come out in April, day and date. And we're all going to buy it on Stadia, and it's going to look fantastic in our 4K Pro subscription deals, which we'll have kept. So speaking of other good news, we have to keep it positive. So speaking of other good news, Borderlands dropped some interesting gold keys this week. So Richie, you picked up on this deal. Do you want to explain it a little bit more?
It's basically, is it Randy Pitchford from Gearbox? Apparently, he just occasionally drops some shift key codes to get yourself some free keys for Borderlands, which basically is an in-world loot box. You just use your key, open the box, get random stuff.
Now, I'm going to add something here. This has actually been going on since Borderlands 3 was released on Stadia, only it hasn't actually been very made public knowledge that it's also been available on Stadia. So there over Christmas, they also had an ongoing event for Borderlands 3 where they released a number of different skins for the weapons, for the characters, and the Echo Cast, which is the device you use in game as well for your user interface, your HUD. And they were all available. They were marketed for Xbox and PS4. No mention of Stadia, but the codes worked on the Shift account to allow you to actually get it in Stadia as well.
Ah, interesting. So it's little stories like this, which almost whoever's in the marketing team or the design team just need to seriously just Google Stadia logo, no background, and you'll find a little PNG image. Copy it, save it to your desktop, do what you need to do in your design studios, and go into Paint or Photoshop or whatever artistic app you use, and just paste that Stadia logo in at the bottom of your promotion, and people out there will realize that it's available on Stadia as well. It's not that hard.
Don't worry, Stadia fan, we've got you covered as well. As soon as we see them, we'll retweet it and let you know that it's available for you as well.
We will indeed. We'll keep you in the know-how. However, not this time, because reading the article, I'm realizing that the code actually expires on Monday the 13th.
Yeah.
So at the time of listening, when this podcast goes live, which is every Monday, tune in on Spotify podcast.
So you've got a couple of hours.
You don't, I think.
They have till 4 p.m. UK time tomorrow.
Okay, so we can read the code out. So yes, so those of you listening, those of you who are our most devoted fans and listen to this podcast the second it drops on YouTube or podcast platforms, get a pen and paper or your phone, write this down. It is CBCTB-9SR9Z-HT-WT-959T6. And that code for Borderlands to get you a gold key, or 3 gold keys, is it, Richie?
Yeah, it's 3 gold keys.
3 gold keys. Expires at 4 p.m. GMT time. If you're in the States, unfortunately, you've probably all missed out.
10 a.m. Central Time in the States.
No one's awake that early.
Yeah.
And just to support you guys as well, that has just been retweeted by the Sounds of Stadia Twitter account. So if you don't follow us already, what are you doing? Get over there. Follow us now.
Yeah, and we tend to retweet a lot of news stories and relevant stuff as it comes about as well. So if you do give us a follow over on Twitter, we try and keep you in the loop best we can with any news stories, or especially news stories coming from the official Stadia account, which is worth a follow as well. So jumping back into gold keys and crazy gear and loot that you can get, Alienware came out this week with probably some of the craziest gear that I've seen in the last couple of months, which I think, Tom, you look probably a bit more into this than the rest of us did, being the techie teacher in the group. Alienware, what the hell were they designing?
Clearly a bit of copyright infringement. Alienware have released the Nintendo Switch, apparently. That's what they're doing.
But it runs on Windows 10, right?
Richie, I think you linked this one as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw this one.
You go for it.
It's just a concept at the moment, but I think a few people I saw this on Tech Radar, and so they've had their hands on it. But it's a Nintendo Switch. It's almost identical. I really can't describe it any better than that. It literally looks exactly like a Nintendo Switch, and even the controls come off like a Joy-Con.
Yeah,
there's got to be some patent infringement.
Yeah, it kind of looks like someone's took the Nintendo Switch, ran it through Elon Musk's Cybertruck generator, and kind of made it a little bit more edgy looking. It doesn't look as comfortable as the Switch, if I'm honest.
It's very sharp.
Yeah, it's got them geometric edges to it. But yeah, I saw a few videos over the weekend from probably the likes of Tech Radar and stuff who were covering CES in America. So all the big new televisions came out. PlayStation announced some crazy PlayStation car as well. Apparently, locomotives. They're trains.
Welcome back to
cars are the things to get into with Elon Musk and that. But yeah, very interesting design that they've came out with, or stole, clearly. But yeah, it runs on Windows 10 from what I saw. And essentially, the short video that I seen about it was essentially, if you had Steam running on Windows 10, in theory, you can just play any game in your library using the Switch-like design.
Yeah, I'd imagine there's some people in Nintendo's legal team working quite hard right now.
And Nintendo do love to use their legal team when they can.
Oh, they do. That's why this isn't a Nintendo podcast.
Yeah. But the reason I put it on the dock is because it does show that there is other companies out there looking at alternatives for the portable gaming space. Other than at the moment we've got Nintendo, and that's really it.
Yeah, I mean, how many Nintendo Switches have actually sold? Are there more than Microsoft now with Xbox?
Well, Switch sales compared to the Xbox, just the Xbox One range in its entirety, or are we looking at specific?
Yeah, well, I know the Nintendo Switch now is up to about 40 odd million, I think was the last official kind of published thing. We haven't heard anything from Microsoft regarding their sales.
No.
We've also not heard anything regarding Stadia sales. But looking at the market share that's there, nobody else is playing in that kind of handheld market outside of the mobile industry at this point. And this is clearly a fresh look into what probably lesser tech companies are looking at getting on board with. In theory, this should be able to play Stadia as well. It's running Windows 10. You just open up a Chrome browser, right?
Yeah, theoretically. I mean, Google are kind of in. Part of the thing was with Stadia is it's play anywhere, so that's why I thought, well, part of that is the mobile space, the portable gaming space. I don't want to use the word mobile because you think of like just traditional mobile games, but yeah, I thought this is like if you're predominantly a PC gamer and say use Steam, it's basically your Steam library on the go. So this, in a way, is competition to Stadia.
Yeah, and Steam again. Valve are trying to sort of tweak the Steam model as well to sort of. I think they're looking to sort of offer something that competes directly with Stadia, xCloud, PS Now as well, because they're really starting to push remote play, and they're starting to push this idea that you can pull your games from your library. But the only downside to them so far is you've got to stream it from your gaming PC. But I do believe that they are also looking into the technology to be able to stream from the cloud as well. So as long as it's in your library, you'll also be able to push it to a mobile device that has a Steam app or something along those points there. So it's interesting that everybody's sort of going down this path. I think 2020 is definitely going to be the year for two things. One, definitely cloud gaming. I think cloud gaming this is the year where it's going to be made, and we'll see champions arise from the grand battle. That's what we'll look back in gaming history. 2020 is the year of the grand cloud gaming
Battle Royale.
Battle Royale, absolutely. And also VR. VR's the other one. I think this is the year for VR.
I think VR for me is a side thing.
Yeah. It's definitely not the thing I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
It's a slow burn, VR.
Cloud VR.
Interesting enough, though, back to the Switch knockoff. The Alienware straight up apparently wouldn't tell TechRadar what the hardware was inside it. So they're happy to demonstrate it, but wouldn't tell them any details about what's running on. So a lot of it's just assumptions. But funny enough, it's basically a Switch with up-res graphics. Interesting enough, though, one of the games that they ran on it, which is apparently really, really well it ran, was Tom Clancy's The Division 2, which we know is going to be a Stadia game, hopefully some point in the near future.
If the price is not too high, I would be really considering buying something like this to play Stadia on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally, I love my Nintendo Switch, but it's very limited in terms of, again, it's got its Nintendo exclusives, but in terms of third-party support, far and few between. I know we've got quite a good couple of ports over to like The Witcher 3 and such recently, but it doesn't play to its best specification. So yeah, I can echo that, Richie, saying if you can run Stadia on this,
because I don't really
best of both worlds.
I don't really care about getting Stadia on my phone because it'll be a battery killer, and it's bad enough my phone's bad enough battery anyway. So if I have I don't mind. I like my Switch as a portable device. So if I could have a portable device similar to a Switch for Stadia,
yeah,
as long as the price is reasonable, I'll be interested.
I think it might work quite well with something like Stadia as well, because if you think about it actually running games directly from it, some of the reports that have been coming from the Alienware product is that the intensity of the CPU on the architecture and the actual the physical components of it is really intense, because if you think about it, what they're trying to do is they're trying to cram a gaming PC into this little handheld thing. And it's not going to be brilliant with that because the battery technology is not really there to be able to support that long term. You're probably only looking maybe like a couple of hours use from it. But we already know that one of the benefits of Stadia is the fact that it doesn't use its own graphics, onboard graphics inside your computers. So we've got a benefit there. So maybe we'll see it for uses like that.
Yeah. Maybe Google should do something similar.
I mean,
without the complete knockoff of having the controllers detachable.
Yeah, and I mean, they've got their Chromebook line, which is what they're going to promote with Stadia as well. A big one, I think the most recent one was a Pixelbook Go, which has essentially been focused around battery capacity and taking your work always with you up and there in the cloud. So that transfers quite easily across the Stadia. But you've got to imagine there's loads of prototypes out there. Even the likes of Sony and PlayStation. I know they said they're not doing another handheld, but I don't understand how these companies look at the success Nintendo's had. And surely they're not just going to leave it to Nintendo to just have this entire pie and eat it whole. Do you not want a cut of that?
It's weird because I think the Vita, although it was really big in Japan, so
everything handheld.
Constantly games coming out for it. So I'm surprised Sony kind of just went, well, we don't want any of that anymore.
Yeah. It's interesting. Obviously, a lot of research and development goes into it, but the benefit of Stadia is that the research and development is done at the server end.
Yeah.
They essentially have to come up with a device that just has a great battery, a decent quality screen, and has a good handheld form factor and a decent connectivity link. If it runs on 4G, 5G,
a nice 4K OLED in there.
Yeah, you can have different variants, but the reality is, as long as the connectivity option's there for decent Wi-Fi or 4G, 5G on the go, the rest of it's just hardware that you can acquire from third-party companies. You can go to LG and get a decent screen. You can go to Intel and get a decent chip processor that'll run most of the internal stuff. And again, Google are the kings of software, so it wouldn't take them that long to kind of pull together some kind of operating system. It'd probably run on Chrome.
You could probably just outsource the license to it.
Just some variant of Android.
Get someone else to just do the whole thing for you.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody will.
Officially licensed.
I mean, that's what they did with their phones with Motorola and HTC in the past. So, yeah, interesting one. But Alienware, you're out there, you're doing your thing. You may not exist once Nintendo get their hands on you, but we applaud you for trying to be different and similar at the same time.
Alienware's fine as a company. They're not going to... I think... is it Dell, actually? Is it
just
the
Dell.
gaming division of Dell?
Yeah. But still, once Nintendo's lawyers get their hands on them, it's a risky move.
Just how much it looks like a Switch.
Exactly. Even though it won't play Mario or Zelda. So speaking of playing on different devices, then that segues nicely into our next article, which is we've seen some Stadia Chrome extensions that have came out. And Richie, you asked, do you think we should test some of these out?
I think it might be worthwhile. I was away this weekend, so unfortunately, after I saw the existence of them, I didn't actually have a chance to have a play around. But it's a few people are pulling together. I think, Tom, you mentioned the scripting for the encoding last week. Mm-hmm. People are actually starting to build Chrome extensions to get a bit more performance or have a few extra features into Stadia.
It's all quality of life stuff. Other than the VP9 encoding, which we mentioned on the previous episode, it's all quality of life. So it's things like there's an extension called Stadia Plus that'll allow it to add a clock to your Stadia UI, so you can actually see what time it is or how long people have been playing games for, that sort of thing as well. Game filters to actually sort of streamline the process of looking for your games as well. If you want to search by key terms, or if you want to search by name when the library gets larger. At the moment, I don't really feel like we need something like that because our game libraries are respectfully quite limited at the moment. And also network monitoring is a nice little one as well. So you can actually monitor your network usage while you're actually playing games, so you can see how much data you're actually downloading as a result of using it, how much you're uploading in return, and so on there. That's quite nice.
So for those of the uninitiated, just to give our listeners a bit of an insight as well, a Chrome extension is essentially when you're opening the browser up to go through and play Stadia via the Google website, it puts a different skin on it essentially. It pulls different facts and information, and it can add new features in just by a bit of tweaking of the coding.
Yeah,
correct?
It's always worth mentioning as well. Absolutely correct. It's always worth mentioning as well that these are beta builds as well. These are not officially licensed extensions from Google. they are created by members of the community. Therefore, that you always have to take these things with a pinch of salt, use them at your own risk, first of all, but secondly, just be aware of the fact that they are likely to encounter issues too. So if you fancy getting something on the go, like you want to check how much your network is being used through Stadia, you want to see some of the statistics behind it, give the network monitoring extension a shot. Otherwise, it's still going to be the same Stadia experience. None of these are actually going to improve anything, apart from the VP9 encoding I mentioned before.
Yeah, there's a nice write-up on them by Dan Wheeler over at Stadia Source, so I'd go check out that article if you're interested in more.
And I'm sure there'll be many, many more come through until Stadia kind of add new features onto their official kind of launcher app. Because again, at the moment, it is quite threadbare on that front.
Yeah,
some of this might be made redundant quickly.
That being said, though, there are some companies who've historically taken the ideas that the community have generated through things like extensions, add-ons, when you look at games like World of Warcraft, and they've actually made those into genuine features. So it's always good to have something like this as well, because it sort of gives the developers of the software as well the idea of like what the community's thinking about or what they'd like to see. So, these are a good thing. I don't want anyone to take it away of saying like, these are going to cause issues with Stadia or they're going to have some sort of negative impact on my performance. No, these are all quality of life. Like if you feel like you want to try it out, give it a shot. It's not going to do anything detrimental, really.
Detrimental. So again, extensions are fantastic. Expanding Stadia out onto more devices or different variants is always great, which we've also seen some news trickle through this week of Google Stadia has been able to trial play on non-Pixel related phones. So we did know that this eventually was going to happen, but what we didn't realize was it was going to happen unannounced, just on the sly. None of us three have experienced that, I'm right in thinking, when we've checked our phones.
Definitely not on iOS as of yet.
Right. I'm going to check my phone now because I actually hadn't checked it yet.
Mine still says the same thing. When you bring up a game, it gives you the option to go to a Chrome browser, troubleshoot for an actual controller, as opposed to play. I don't have the play symbol, essentially. What's yours
at the moment I can...
No, it's just choosing where to play.
Yeah, I literally, same thing. I could pick my Chromecast and that's it. Nothing else.
None of us. So Samsung, you're using a Sony, correct, Richie?
Yes.
Yeah, and Tom, you're on an iPhone. Those three manufacturers are not at the moment. I'm sure we'll get some more detailed information as this rolls out over the next couple of weeks of who is being the guinea pig in trial on non-Stadia phones. But I think the reality is it must be come with the base launch. That's why they're just kind of eyeing out these creases. And when they go base, they're going to go all out on every device, which seems smart if they want to get that word out there onto as many things as possible. If you think how many millions and upon millions of mobile phones are out there now, why restrict yourself just to Pixel when you're going full on public, full on free access, buy your game, play it wherever? Why would you want to limit that message by saying, except only on Pixel phones?
Yeah. I mean, I've been saying since episode 1 that I view this window we're currently in as a soft launch of the product, and the hard launch will come with base.
Yeah, exactly. So quickly moving on then, speaking of things that are soft and floppy, we've also got the Stadia stickers. I wanted to bring this up and just mention a quick little piece about it. All of the Founders Packs, I'm not too sure about the Premier Packs, came with 2 little Google Stadia stickers. I'm sure you got them out of the box, gentlemen, had a look at them, thought, I don't know what to stick mine on, and put them back in the box.
Yep. Correct.
Yep. So I foolishly made the mistake, which you two know from our live stream we did back in December. I stuck mine on my laptop, thinking, it'll be a nice little way. During the live stream, you'll be able to see the Stadia logo in the distance, and it'll look like I've got a Stadia laptop. And the stickers, when they actually come off, they're a transparent. It looks like a car sticker almost, like the little vinyl ones you get to go on your inside window. So you two saw it on my laptop. Thoughts? Trying to cover my HP logo up.
Yeah.
Looked a bit.
I think the placement could have been better.
I think it would have been a translucent sticker. Putting it over an existing logo didn't benefit that well.
It was good intent.
Good intent. The intention was there. So what I
UFO.
What I actually found out is naturally I looked at it I left it on for another couple of days and thought, I need to get rid of this. One, they're a pain in the ass to peel off, as with all stickers, because I'm obviously not wanting to damage my laptop, so I'm being careful with it. Don't want to scratch the metallic cover. I took in trying to peel the sticker off, I noticed that the translucent rectangle of the sticker isn't actually part of the sticker. It turns out they're not stickers, they're transfers like you would get with a tattoo.
Oh.
So upon peeling the plastic outer frame off, I was actually just left with the S and the Stadia wording without the actual big clear sticker over it. So they're transfers, they're not stickers, even though they're kind of the same thing still. But better placement, I've got one left. You two have two. Everybody out there listening most likely has two. Yes, so you stick it on something, rub it down, make sure you've got all the creases rubbed out, and then peel the clear translucent part off, and you'll be left with the Stadia logo in all its entirety without any tacky peelable plastic sticker bit. So yeah.
So I don't know. Need somewhere to stick it.
Yeah, you just need to think of somewhere to stick it. But yeah, for those of you thinking I might put it in my car or stick it on a laptop or a bit of tech that I've got, it's not as bad as it first looks when you stick it down. Peel off the clear transfer piece and you are left with just the Stadia logo. So yeah, knock yourselves out.
If you're a real diehard fan, just go for the temporary tattoo approach and just get it straight on the skin, straight on the flesh.
Or if you're the hardest core of diehard fans, tattoo straight on your forehead.
Yeah, just go for a tattoo on your forehead.
Well, speaking of things floppy and thingy again.
He did it. He went there.
Best person to send us a photo of that into our Twitter account.
Let's not do that.
All right, Tom says we're not allowed to do that, so he's in charge of the finances.
This is the internet. Stranger things have happened.
But I just thought it's clearly a story that's not being picked up because it's so insequential to everything we're talking about Stadia. But I just thought anyone who's listening out there who has them two stickers kicking around, who's maybe had a look at them and thought they just look like some shitty little transfers, there's actually just a little bit more I think you can do with them. Stick it on a water bottle, stick it on your car window, stick it on the back of your phone, and it won't be left with that big horrible square that I thought I had. You'd have to just be left with a clear logo. So yeah, get yourself out there, buy a cheap phone case, stick it on, jazz it up a bit, diamantes and all that kind of stuff. Whatever other people do.
Very quickly, guys. 2 minutes ago, Google Stadia's account. So this is live, literally. I say live.
Breaking news jingle.
We know you're excited. We have no news to share about the availability of Stadia Base at this time. You can expect frequent updates to the Stadia platform, and that includes. It's basically nothing. Once again, it's nothing.
You got us excited there, Tom.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? If it's going to come live, I've literally been checking my phone all day. If something comes live mid-podcast, I'm going to talk about it. But once again, it's a fat lot of nothing. So sorry for the hype there, guys. But
it just shows they are at work, though.
One person is at work.
Yeah.
That's what it proves. I thought we were just going to get hit there with some like big piece of news. Alas, though, we're not. We're just left with a bunch of stickers. Which brings us on to the final story of the week. The GDC, the Game Developers Conference, have announced their awards finalists. As we know, Google Stadia was announced in 2019, so a year ago this upcoming week at the GDC Awards, where Phil Harrison got on stage, spoke to all the developers, told them about all the teraflops and all the amazing things Stadia could bring to the platform. And here we are, fast forward a year, at their first Game Awards, and the nominations under Best Audio, Best Debut Game, Best Design, Innovation Award, Best Narrative, Best Technology, Best Visual Art, and finally their Game of the Year feature no Stadia games in all categories.
So when we say Stadia games, are we talking about Stadia exclusives?
Nope. Anything on Stadia. So even the likes of Borderlands,
Red Dead 2.
Yeah. None of those got a nod in any of the GDC award categories. I did think there was a subcategory of best fighting game, which shout out to Samurai Showdown. That was in there
the flag
with Mortal Kombat and a few others. So our Stadia flag is firmly planted in Sam Show doing the business.
All right.
And for those who've not seen what Samurai Showdown is, head over to our YouTube channel and there is a 1 hour long video of us kicking the shit out of each other with swords and apples.
And also we played Samurai Showdown.
Yes, and we also played a little bit of the game as well. But obviously, GDC Awards, not necessarily the biggest, flushest game awards that there are out there, but they are still important. These awards are obviously there to kind of showcase the developers.
Yeah, I like them because it's the developers kind of showing like what they it's the developers who are the ones in the voting panel on this.
Yeah. It's the awards are usually a bit more specifically chosen from the people who have that inside know-how.
Yeah.
It's not just somebody who's played the game and thought that was fun, great. It's someone who understands the inner workings of how games actually run. So the awards, in theory, should land with a bit more gravitas. But alas, there's no Stadia games in this year, so we won't spend an entire episode discussing our award finalists and our predictions. We'll save that purely for our Game of the Year conversation, which fast forward to the end of this year, and hopefully we're going to have plenty of Stadia games, whether they're exclusive or not. But I just thought, it'd be a nice thing to touch on, because Stadia's technically existed in our minds for a year now, before we all owned them.
I wonder if they'll be at the awards. At the conference, not the awards.
I mean, we're waiting for a Connect. They have a showcase.
Maybe that's why
they were there previously.
It might be why they're quiet on the community front if they're building the stuff for us.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was thinking about earlier as well, is perhaps this silence is because they are... I mean, we can only be hopeful that it's because they're building up something big to show us instead.
But even then, though, your community update go, nothing this week, we'll look out for the Game Developers Conference.
Yeah, I mean, the awards ceremony is in March. So how do we... It's actually 18th of March. So how do we think the 18th of March times with a potential Stadia announcement?
I'm thinking base might be 1st of April, the new financial year.
So then... That ties in decently.
So March, it'd be a nice way. And the thing is, this isn't an E3. This is the game developers showcasing their stuff. It's a bit more the nerdy, geeky side than where E3 is a massive like press conference. So there might be, I'd imagine the focus a bit more on the tech side, but giving some big information in March just before like the new financial year.
Well,
smart.
If we go by on a timescale basis, the original GDC 2019 Stadia announcement, that was the 19th of March last year. That was the 19th of March. Now, the GDCA for 2020 is again March 16th to March 20th. So it's, this is the time when they were there previously announcing it. So it might be decent to have a keynote around then, to have some sort of connect, like to tie into it, to say like, we're a year on, here's Stadia, here's what the future of Stadia is going to be.
Yeah, I think that would be a smart move.
Yeah.
I think keeps a bit of consistency that they were here last year, they're here again, to bring the developers like how much it's changed, how much maybe they want to thank them for their involvement over the last 12 months, and you've really helped us get the stuff off the ground. We're now out in the wild. We're going live with base in the next couple of weeks, come April, whatever. Thanks to all our partnerships with the likes of CD Projekt Red and Ubisoft and Bethesda, who's been really, really helpful. And here's some brief announcements. So we've got to connect following the end of this awards show. I think that'd be a really clever time.
Yeah, it gets people used to, okay, it's mid-March every year. I'm expecting something from Google.
Yeah, I mean, we see it with the other ones. It's that small bit of consistency. But I know I've seen in the internet ecosystem this month already they're expecting Nintendo Direct, because they do one every February, January. Everyone's expecting them to announce the next PlayStation 5 details in February, because that's when they announced the PlayStation 4 details.
Nintendo did do a Pokemon Direct.
They did. I saw that DLC for Sword and Shield and a new game announcement, which was a remake from. It was like a remake from something dungeon, I think it was.
Oh, yeah, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
Yeah, Mystery Dungeon, which I didn't even know existed. So even in 2006, so they're scraping the bottom of the barrel for games, for Pokemon tie-in games. It would appear for Switch.
They're developing Pokemon Sleep.
Yeah, Pokemon Sleep. That's a thing. But alas, Nintendo are announcing games.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. To date, they've been out there. They've announced something, whether you like it or not. They're still putting dates and times and information in people's hands to talk about. So just think of how news-centric the last couple of days will have been around Pokemon. How many more people who went out and acquired Sword and Shield off the back of them talking about it in the Direct?
Yeah.
So it's interesting how silence doesn't benefit anybody.
Nintendo know what they're doing. Copying them is not a bad idea.
Oh, not at all. They just, I think, need to get that information out there. So that's the end of the news this week. The topic of the show is quite brief. We'll keep it light, but we wanted to end, I think, this week's episode to kickstart the new year fully on just some positive things. So over on Stadia Cast, if you don't already follow them, the guys over there with about 4,000 plus followers did a quick community poll around what makes Stadia great. And a few of the features they pulled out, I think, is worthwhile mentioning. That we've had Stadia for coming up 2 months now.
Yeah,
just shy of having it in our hands for 2 months. Personally, I've had no issues with it so far, but I think it's for anyone who's new to the show, or maybe is inquiring about getting Stadia in the coming weeks or when base goes live. It's been out on the live technically for about 54 days now, so which doesn't seem that long, just 54 days. And the community is obviously going to build and get bigger over time. I did see, just before we jump into that, a funny query on one of the community groups just this morning. I know we like to have a little laugh at the expense of the community groups. So, quick question from someone called Adam in the Google Stadia community. So if I buy Stadia, do you buy the games on their store like Xbox, or can I use my PC accounts and play the game from there?
Yeah, I saw that one.
Okay.
I also saw the responses.
Yeah, I saw the responses as well. So
I do like the responses.
You Stadia community, you go get them. Anyone who's asking questions like that.
Vicious.
Yes. It needs to happen. It needs to happen, unfortunately. So yeah. So this guy was inquiring whether if he bought Stadia, can he just use his other PC accounts, presumably like Steam and such, to just play the games using a controller on a TV? But yeah, when I first saw that, my default response in my inner monologue was definitely, you do have the internet at your disposal. Use it to do some research before asking a question.
Also, if it is like, oh, I've got Steam where I want to play my games, like, well, you can. Just plug it into your PC, into your telly, and you're done.
But do I need Stadia for that? Do I need Stadia for that?
I don't know. I might have to ask the Facebook group.
But ask the Facebook group. So yeah, join us on there. And if you are on Facebook, by the way, we do actually have a Facebook Google Stadia page. Just Sounds of Stadia, as with everything else. That is the handle. Go find us. We don't post on there that regular because Twitter's kind of our main go-to for getting the information out nice and quickly. But yes, like I said, just to wrap up on a positive, I just wanted to run you two through the high points and just kind of a brief discussion around what makes Stadia great 2 months down the line. That I think we've probably overlooked, actually. We kind of take it for granted now we have Stadia, a few of these points. So in at the kind of top slot was no downloads. I personally think it's amazing. I don't know about you two, but every time I go back to my PS4 or my Switch and there is a software update required,
definitely case in point right there. So the other day I had a few friends who I haven't gamed with for quite some time, but they wanted to jump back into playing Titanfall 2, which was one of the recent, it was last month's PS Plus game right there. Now, I only really sort of got into the conversation about it like pretty much like a couple of hours before we were scheduled to actually play. So I thought, go on, I'll download it, give it a shot. No, couldn't play it. Why? Because I had to wait for a download. Yeah, so it's an absolute bastard. So having something like Stadia is, it's fantastic. Because I literally just would have pulled it up and gone, yeah, it's done. It's there.
See, for me, I usually leave my PlayStation on standby to mitigate the things like software updates that can happen when I'm not using it. But that's a nice twist there for Stadia, is because no downloads, don't have to leave anything on running.
Yeah, but likewise, if you're thinking about the downloads too, is that one of the issues you've got to look at is permanent storage. And the more you have to download, the less permanent storage you're going to have remaining. So at a point, it's going to reach max capacity. Stadia, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, it's also because I'm not having to leave my Stadia on to download, to update when I'm not aware. It's cheaper for my electric bill.
It's just there. Yeah. It's the small things, but you're completely right. I showed off Stadia to my brother for the first time over the weekend, and just wanted to showcase some of the graphics. So naturally jumped in the catalog and I went through a few different games, and I demonstrated Destiny 2 for him, and in hindsight, looking back at it, once I looked at this list going into the start of the show, it dawned on me that I booted up Destiny 2, which no doubt since the last time myself and you two probably played it, it's probably had a good couple of patches or updates or some kind of content drop or something. And I booted that game up and showcased it straight away with minimal effort. I just got the controller, got the Chromecast up it was, and we were playing, I think we went to Mars or something and did just a brief quick mission to show off the graphics. But if that was on a console, no doubt there would have been an update. There would have been a long load time to get in, and there wasn't. And I think, yeah, having it for 2 months now and playing a couple of games and testing different frame rates and such out, I think that's one key thing that is very, very quickly overlooked. That the power of cloud server gaming is you don't need to download it. The game's there, just like you hit play on Netflix and YouTube and it plays.
And to cover that second point as well, faster load times, like you just said right there. If you boot up Destiny 2 or you boot up any game on Stadia, you can be within the game in a matter of seconds. Like I think the longest load time I've had from literally booting it from the portal screen, from that initial screen to actually being in the game is perhaps like 30 seconds or so. Yeah. Something along those lines.
It's hard to compare because I don't think I've got any games on Stadia that I actually have on the PlayStation to do a direct side-by-side comparison. But you do with Borderlands, Tom, so is it much quicker on Stadia?
Much quicker. Like there's no competition there whatsoever.
Oh, excellent. Cool. Another point that was picked out from the StadiaCast community was portability. I don't know about YouTube, but I know I've taken it. Last week I was playing in a hotel, booted up my laptop, hotspotted it, tethered it to my mobile device using 4G, and yeah, I was away. I played a bit of Tomb Raider while I was away in the hotel, and it's that portability factor that once the necessity for a laptop is gone, and I can play it on my portable tablet on my phone without requiring the purchase of a Pixel phone. It'll work all the more portable. So, yeah, can't wait for that. But the reality is I haven't had to lug around a big console brick with me anywhere, and I've been playing AAA games.
Yeah, see, I didn't take my... I've just been for a weekend in Edinburgh. I didn't take my laptop with me. If I could have played my phone, I would have done. But I did actually do a speed test in the hotel. And I was just staying in a fairly low-price budget hotel. I had free Wi-Fi, and my connection was 58 megabits per second. That's 4K by Stadia.
Yeah.
So if I had,
And again, over the holiday period as well, I went away with my fiance as well, just for a night. And love her to bits, but she takes forever to get ready sometimes. And during that time, I decided to take away I took my Chromecast with me, with her permission, I might add, and the controller. Plugged it into the TV in the room we were staying in. And again, portability is fantastic. I just had to take the power cable, the Chromecast Ultra, and the controller, which you can pick up a nice, cheap, hard carry case from Amazon for only about anywhere between £10 to £20, depending on how good you want the quality to be. And it's literally just something you can carry around with you, nice and simple.
That's a perfect place for your Stadia sticker.
It is. Or, Tom, as you pointed out last week, Stadia Player One, Eddie, over there, has got his own branded Stadia controller for sale on Amazon.
That is true. Shout out to Eddie over there.
So he's been grafting there, and he's managed to get a controller case with his own little Stadia logo on. So hopefully Stadia's lawyers aren't chasing you as much as Nintendo's are chasing Alienware at the moment. But well done, mate. Well done. Shout out to you. Looking down the list then, other things kind of in line with the no downloads and stuff, that Stadia's future-proofed. So, yes, it's only been out 2 months, but month on month, all these iterations and these new hardware, and as we go into the end of this year, particularly with PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, as it's known now, none of us have to do anything. You don't have to buy any more kit. We just boot up the game, and it's there with the most teraflops available to us at that time.
I imagine towards the end of this current generation for Stadia as well, it'll probably be fairly seamless in terms of the end user of getting the upgrade.
Yeah, the reality is at one point Google are probably going to come out with an announcement and just say, oh, by the way, we've done some work behind the scenes. Our server upload's going to get tweaked a little bit. You're going to see faster performance from November 1st onwards, just going into the launch of next gen.
Yeah. I'd kind of imagine at some point the Stadia Pro, rather than being paying to get up to 4K, go, okay, 4K standard, now you have to pay to get 8K.
Yeah,
That was
seems like
one of the
logical
original
step.
plans, wasn't it? They did say that it was going to be pushed out to 8K eventually.
Yeah. But it is just the irony that when PS5 and Xbox come out next gen, and we know all the specifications, they're all announced whenever that may be, Phil Harrison could just come out on stage and go, "Yep, you've beat us for teraflops and GPU performance, all that kind of thing. Guess what? End of next month, we're going to tweak ours and flick a switch, and all of our millions of Stadia users out there are just naturally upgraded."
Next time they're never going to have to pay for it.
Yeah.
GDC. Oh well, actually, Xbox is more powerful, or is it?
Or is it? Yeah.
Yeah, we've decided to upgrade it.
Yeah, and that's the power of the cloud. So that can't be overstated. We are very early doors at the moment, but come the end of the year, when any of the listeners out there were considering getting a next gen console, and you currently have sat in your living room a PlayStation or an Xbox, do you have the £400 to fork out for all this kit, or have you got your Stadia controller sat there and you're already going to get the best performance available through your Chromecast? Who knows?
With Stadia, it just comes back to getting the games on the platform.
Yeah, and that's what it boils down to. It can be overlooked either, but an easy interface. I think we've not really spoke about the interface because it is so simple and easy. Yeah. Your games are there on the screen. You scroll to it, you hit play, and it's done.
We did talk, I think, a couple of weeks ago about how they've got some hidden filters built in that they just haven't released yet. So they are planning for the future, and as it expands on the store.
Yeah, and there's going to be loads of little features that come along the way, like crowd choice and crowd play and stuff. But it's exciting times. There's a lot in the pipeline. We are 2 months into Stadia. Base is going live some point in the next couple of weeks. We're going to get a community update. So yeah, as a breakdown for the episode then, amazing talent moving over the Stadia team this year. We're going to get games day and date. The free stuff that's being given away ties in with Stadia now, whether they promote that or not. Alienware going to jail. The stickers aren't as shit as we first thought, and there's going to be loads at next year's Game Awards and GDC Awards as well. But I think in a nutshell, Stadia is in a fantastic place for 2020 with all the features that we spoke about this week. Would you gentlemen like to add anything else to the show before we wrap up?
No, I'm all good.
No.
Fantastic. So I think, again, just to wrap up, we'd like to say thank you to everyone who listens week in, week out. We've seen a significant spike at the start of this year in terms of listenership and viewership over on YouTube.
So thank you for that.
So thank you for that. Remember, this show drops every Monday at whatever time I upload it to. But we'll try and get some consistency with that. I do try and get it for 9 o'clock in the morning UK time. But yeah, it'll drop on a Monday. Every Monday. We've not missed one yet since last September, so we've got some good consistency going. We are going to get some more live streams up and running in the imminent future, but yeah, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you're kept in the loop with those updates when they do become available. And as mentioned through the show, we're always available on Twitter. I've been Chris. Thank you for listening. We've got
Don't forget about the shift codes.
Don't forget about your countdown clock for if you are listening now, you've just listened to us for another 50 minutes and wasted your time to go over and get those those codes. But yes, so I've been Chris. Over there we've got Richie and Tom as well.
And don't forget Mitchie from Northeast England.
Yes, don't forget Mitchie who wrote in with that important question. We've been Sounds of Stadia. Thank you for listening very much. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.